No me imaginé que fuera a pasar eso ahí.
It's hard to know what horrors hide in a home.
It's too sad. It's sad. Yeah.
But the woman who lived across the street from this one had an idea. Had you ever seen police?
Yeah, a lot of times.
Back in June of 2022, Dallas police found 5-year-old Zamarian Kizzy dead at his home in South Dallas's Bonton neighborhood. His 26-year-old mother, Tiffany Williams, was arrested and charged with injury to a child. According to this arrest affidavit, Zamarian's mother told detectives she beat her child multiple times, including with an extension cord on his back and face. She admitted to physically abusing him on a daily basis.
I do know that, she was beating on him.
The day after the little boy died, WFAA found his 74-year-old dad, Ulysses Kizzy, outside of the family's home. He was arrested the next day, charged with injury to a child by omission. Child Protective Services took custody of their 5 other children. The oldest was 7 at the time, the youngest just 3 months. And this was not the first time CPS had placed these children in foster care. I obtained little Zamarian's CPS history through an open records request. These children were removed in 2017 for neglectful supervision after they were found in a room with their mother, who was unconscious after their dad had choked her until she passed out. The kids were removed again in 2020 after they tested positive for cocaine, and CPS confirmed their mother physically abused them. Then, in December of 2021, when they were back with their parents, CPS received a report that Zamarian had a deep gash on his forehead. The state's report says he said he fell on a toy, then he stated that he was hit. However, CPS investigators concluded his injury was caused by him tripping over toys. They marked the child as safe, the family's risk level as high, and closed the case. Zamarian was killed about 7 months later. And that investigation in December of 2021 came just 3 months after a law went into effect that actually changed the level of neglect that would allow for CPS to remove a child from their home.
HB 567, the clerk will read the bill.
Before September 1st of 2021, the state could remove a child for neglect if investigators believed there was a substantial risk of physical or mental harm. After House Bill 567 became law, they had to believe the child is in immediate danger.
That's a very high evidentiary standard.
Kathleen Laval is the CEO of Dallas Court Appointed Special Advocates, or CASA, the group that gets assigned to advocate for children in Dallas County once they've been removed from their homes for neglect or abuse.
Our concern is that an investigation is closed in circumstances where that child would have been removed or siblings would have been removed, 5 years ago. How do we measure that impact?
I took a look at CPS data from the last 10 years. The fiscal year before the law went into effect, more than 16,000 children were removed for abuse or neglect in Texas. The first year after the law change, removals dropped to 9,623.
I knew that we would decrease removals. I did not know that it would decrease that much.
This bill is called the Child Trauma Reduction Act.
Texas State Representative James Frank, a Wichita Falls Republican, wrote and sponsored House Bill 567.
We should be proud of the work done in here, and I move passage.
The bill only changed the definition of neglect.
There's a difference between abuse, which is proactive, versus neglect, which is where you're not providing something.
But national CASA data shows historically a vast majority of removals, more than 60%, have been for neglect.
Neglect becomes very subjective depending on who you are. A dirty home in some people's case is neglect. Poverty is neglect.
I think, the original standard made sense.
Laval says Dallas CASA was not seeing removals for minor reasons.
I don't think that, we observed situations where there was an overreaction, where we were questioning why were these children brought into care. It was abundantly clear in each case.
The year after the law changed, 37 children in North Texas died because of abuse and or neglect. 44 died last year. That's consistent with the year leading up to the change and lower than years prior.
It doesn't appear that we're missing kids that we should have.
But Laval says deaths are not the only benchmark. CPS received more than 82,000 reports of abuse or neglect in North Texas alone, after that law changed in 2022 and then again in 2023. That is the highest number in our region in at least 10 years.
That should take away any comfort you have that fewer kids coming into foster care means fewer kids are in harm's way.
House Bill 567 passed the state Senate unanimously.
There being 143 ayes, 5 nays.
In the House, only 5 lawmakers voted against it.
Well, it wasn't a yay vote for me, and to this day it still would not be.
State Representative Ana Maria Ramos of Dallas was one of them.
Is CPS going to be there all the time when this child is in immediate danger? The likelihood of that happening is not.
Ramos says CPS workers and family court judges tell her they are concerned that kids are being left in dangerous homes.
Now the house has to be on fire for us to be able to remove the child, and that was one of the concerns that the judges said.
An autopsy found that young Zamarian Kizzy's death was a homicide resulting from acute and chronic blunt force injuries and chronic neglect.
You just can't help but wonder, what could have been done if the child had been brought in earlier, if we'd been more protective.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members.
It did what lawmakers hoped it would do.
Essentially, we have about half the number of kids in foster care now than we had 2 years ago. Do I think we hit it perfect? No, but honestly, when I look at the numbers, both of removals and of the slight decrease in child deaths, I'm pretty proud that we hit it real close.
But some worry that waiting for immediate danger allows the horrors that can hide in a home to grow.
I think that is a very difficult situation to really reconcile.
Both Zamarian's parents, Tiffany Williams and Ulysses Kizzy, are still in custody. Williams has a jury trial scheduled for later this year. In Dallas, I'm Morgan Young.
You can report potential neglect or abuse anytime by calling this number, 800-252-5400. Calls are not anonymous. You must provide your name.